Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with someone that I've been following for years. He is the chief Sumo at Sumo Group, which is a company that houses Sumo.com and AppSumo.com. He was the 30th employee at Facebook, and he was the 4th employee at Mint.com. We are here today with Noah Kagan. Noah, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty well. I had a low morning. I'd say I felt pretty crappy.
Okay.
A good lunch and then a better afternoon.
Love it. And you are actually traveling right now. So Noah, I appreciate your time today, taking out time on your trip to chat with me today. And so I gave kind of a very brief version of your background leading into this, but I know that the B2B marketers listening to this are going to get a ton of value out of this conversation. Could you tell them a little bit about what you're up to, specifically at Sumo.com? I think that tool would be really, really helpful for anyone listening.
Yeah. Well, let me just start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So first, my parents had sex. No. No, I'm playing. No, well, they did have sex. I'm not playing about that. Hopefully they did. No, so where it actually started was AppSumo.com, which is our first business, which is still running. It's still super popular, which is a daily deal site for geeks and startup people and, B2B marketers, all these, internet nerds with small businesses, less than 50 people. And we grew it to a 1 million person mailing list, and it's an 8-figure company. And I was like, damn, this company's awesome. It's doing really well. And my business partner said, well, we're pretty good at this marketing thing. Like, we built all these tools for us. What if we actually made that our next business? And that's what became Sumo.com, which is really tools to grow an email list. And it's been a wild ride building it. We've had a lot of mistakes. We've had some, a lot of successes too. And so right now, I think almost 150,000 people use it every single day to grow their email list. So a bunch of free tools to either collect your customers and then communicate with them now.
What's the most popular tool in that suite of tools?
Yeah, so that was really interesting, James, because we started out and we learned our lesson. We just built random crap.
Yeah.
And we built A/B testing, which was more complicated than we thought, so we stopped it. We built a highlighter tool, which was basically you could highlight text and then tweet it out. And then we got smarter and we said, why don't we just work backwards from what's the most popular in WordPress or the most popular that people are paying for already, and we'll just make those free. So the ones where it really exploded was when we made free pop-ups, because there wasn't really anybody else doing that, and that was really popular in WordPress. And no one was really actually doing it well. And then the next thing was share buttons. And then the one after that was heat maps, because you had Crazy Egg, which costs a lot, and we made a free version. And so that was really how we got the traction. And now I would say about 80 to 85%, and this has been interesting from a business perspective, and especially from marketers. It's very important is that we looked at actually what people were using, and of all the tools we built, and of all the money we were making, 85% was from email and communication with customers. So we, almost not overnight, but pretty quickly stopped developing new tools or new things not related to communicating with customers. So either collecting emails, pop-ups, scroll boxes, all that stuff, and then now communicating. So actually sending messages to those people too.
Yeah, I love that. I use the share tool and have been following you guys since before it was Sumo.com. So you actually acquired Sumo.com. Was it earlier this year? Was it like January, February?
It closed, I think, in December, and we announced in January. Just want to say that's after 7 years of me emailing that guy every 3 months to sell me the domain.
Yeah, no. So, and I think the podcast episode that you did, kind of talking about that process, was fascinating to me, because the amount of persistence that it took to acquire that domain, and then you guys paid what, $1.5 million for it.
Yeah.
So what was was it to have a 4-letter domain? Can you kind of walk us through your thinking on kind of why it was worth spending that kind of change on it?
Yeah. What's interesting, if I look at my career, when I was at Facebook, we were the Facebook. And when I was at mint.com, we were mymint.com. And so during both those acquisitions, more the Mint one because I had an opinion on it and I was there, or input on it, I was very against it. I thought, who cares?
Yeah.
I was like, we ended up paying for Mint about $250,000 plus some equity. So these guys made a ton of money, probably like, I don't know, 8 figures. And so the irony with it was I was just always against it. And with Sumo, originally I was like, well, if it's cheap enough, let me see if I can get it. And I offered 50, which I thought was pretty expensive. I was like, this is crazy. They wanted 250 and I balked. I was like, no way. And so I kind of just didn't care. I've never really thought about branding. And then the more that I've gotten older and a few things have become apparent. Number one, when you look at like the most successful companies, they have a brand.
Yeah.
And they have their main name. Like Dropbox used to be, I think, Dropbox HQ, and same with all these other companies. But there's no big successful company that's like, try the Facebook mint.com. Like get Firefox. No, it's like they got the domain. So okay, let's try to pattern match. That's one thing. Second thing is branding matters. As much as I've never really cared about it because I've done more direct response marketing, I'm more interested in I spend this and I made that. The brand is something that, how do people feel? How do they talk about it? And I'll tell you from a personal perspective, as I can now, when I'm calling customer support or when I'm talking to people in public and I say, hey, they're like, oh, what's your site? Oh, sumo.com. Like I'm smiling every time. I have buyer's remorse on so much stuff.
Not on
and
that.
That is something I have buyers. What's the opposite of remorse? I have buyers like
happiness.
Flow.
Buyer happy.
Yeah, happiness flow or whatever it is. And so a lot of different things came into play. Where one, we had the money, so for tax reasons, it was great. Number, I thought branding was more important. No major company doesn't have their own domain. There's a bunch of Sumos in the market. All these other guys. I won't mention them. And so I want to be the definitive.
Yep.
And also we structured it financially where we pay it out over 5 years. So from that point of view, it's not actually as expensive as you think. And so as much as people hate Trump or love Trump, I don't care. But in his book, I thought what was interesting is that in the deals he's done, he says you make the money in the creativity. You make the money in the difficulty. And so because we structured it creatively where I didn't have to put up all that cash because that's what people assume, I pay $16,000 a month over 5 years. And so as a percentage of my monthly spend, it's actually pretty insignificant.
Interesting. If anyone listening to this, first off, you need to go subscribe to Noah Kagan Presents on the same, whatever you're listening to this on Stitcher, iTunes, whatever, and listen to that episode. But yeah, because the story is fascinating. What you learned from it and kind of the why behind it, Noah, I think is really, really interesting. This next question that I want to dive into with you, Noah, I think you're going to have something really that listeners are really going to want to kind of listen to here. But where do you see the biggest growth opportunity right now, specifically for B2B brands?
So if I'm trying to market to other businesses,
yeah,
I think the thing I'm thinking about is I actually wrote down like what I see as part of the opportunity for the future is how can you just actually bring customers for other people?
Okay,
like just make it stupid easy. I think that's a really interesting opportunity where I'm just like, hey, James, I need these kind of customers. There's so much to pay. And then it's just figured out. Because nowadays, there's all these different marketing things we have to do. But just give me the people I need to talk to. And there should be an exact amount of them. And maybe Facebook does that or someone else does it. But it almost makes sense in the future.
Okay.
You have to think about how things have evolved, right? So before we just put up ads.
Yep.
And then now we can target ads based on certain, pretty narrow specificities. And so I think from a marketer perspective, the whole mindset should be is how do I talk to each customer individually that doesn't feel automated or robotic. And that is the inevitable future of marketing in B2B. So right now, what's been amazing to me from a B2B marketing perspective is the acceleration of quality and acceleration of the market being efficient, meaning content marketing used to be the way. So HubSpot outputted a bunch of junky content, a lot of people read it, and then they started getting better, and now everyone's actually pretty damn good in this content marketing space. So it's kind of harder to stand out. Same with Facebook ads.
Yeah.
So with Facebook ads, everyone's spending. So actually making profit on it has to be exceptional, or you have to have some viral component that reduces the cost of acquisition. And so I think the thing with that is how do you talk to individually to a customer, because that's going to be even harder to get them. And then where is the inefficiencies in the next markets? So is the next markets going to be, is there something on Reddit? I don't know. But if you look at a lot of the major successes of super successful marketing, it's they've exploited an opportunity in a channel.
Okay.
So Facebook exploited email lists, PayPal exploited eBay, Airbnb exploited Craigslist. Slack exploited Skype to some extent.
Okay.
So there are different channels. WhatsApp kind of and Instagram exploited. Same with, I guess, WhatsApp exploited Skype. So I think from a marketing channel, like where there's still an inefficient channel or an opportunity for you to provide some value component of it. So like Kik as another one. Instagram didn't have messaging. Kik was a messaging tool for Instagram more or less, and then it exploded from that. And then Instagram built their own, closed it off. But Kik is still, I think a pretty substantial messaging platform.
Got it. Okay, so this is something I think you're kind of a master at that I've seen in a lot of different things you've done. But you're essentially just trying to reverse engineer the specific result that you're trying to get to, and so you start at the end and go, okay, if I want this result, and then you kind of work backwards from there. For us, what that looks like is, we're always trying to think through how can we add more value on the front end, and where I see a lot, particularly in the B2B space, where I see a lot of people kind of going straight for the jugular and doing zero sort of relationship or rapport on the front end. They're just trying to sell them their thing. And so for us, by going to someone, to a CMO or a VP of marketing and saying, hey, do you want to be a guest on our podcast? Using that conversation, building a quality relationship, and then on the back end of that relationship, seeing if there's an opportunity to work together, if they want us to produce their podcast or whatever. But I think a lot of people, I don't know if they see it as too much work on the front end, or they just want something quicker than that. I love just how you're thinking about that. Another thing, Noah, that I want to call back to, I mentioned it earlier, your podcast, Noah Kagan Presents. You guys recently launched it. I'd love to know your thinking on why did you decide to start a podcast, and then I'd love to hear some of the benefits you've seen since it launched. Yeah,
I started it January 17th, the Noah Kagan Presents podcast, and it's been a really challenging mental guilt doing it.
Okay,
a lot of guilt because as you run a company, or as anyone that's in business or in life, it's like, what do I prioritize?
Yeah,
and that's a very difficult question. That's actually the most critical thing in any business. What are you prioritizing?
Yep.
And so the companies were at a point where there's two people running them, and so I felt that I could spend more time on kind of futuristic or things that I'm interested related to Sumo, related to helping small businesses grow. And so of the things that I've been interested in, I love just talking to people, talking to you, interviewing people. Like I just interviewed this guy who's a 9-figure CEO. He's a company's a real billion dollar company, and he's worth 9 figures. And I was just talking to him. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I just love it. That gives me a lot of energy. And the companies are running at a point where I can help, and I'm helping as like a coach or chairman or advisor. And so the podcast was something I'm interested in. The guilt part came because I think what I've noticed for myself, and I don't know if this is therapy talking, but there's something there where we just something's hard. And so because it's hard, you start distracting yourself. So because something's tough, you watch TV, and then or you drink or you smoke or whatever that is. And the hard thing is that most very successful things take a lot of time, and they don't magically just grow overnight. And so the podcast was a marketing channel. I did it more just because I was interested in chatting with people, and it was a great excuse. I also was looking at it, I was like, oh, this is an interesting marketing medium, and I'll tell you, it's been one of the more harder ones. As you know, because the tracking is hard. Everyone always whines about it, but it's hard. And so I was doing YouTube and doing plugins and all this stuff, but I think you have to come back to hey, I had a goal for the year. I like this. I can't do everything great. I can do everything good, but I can do one thing great. So let me do that. And then after some period of time, I can evaluate doing other things.
Love it.
And so, figure out how to make great shows, who to hire. I hired, hire experts. I hired an NPR producer to help me improve my shows.
What was there anything that stood out about kind of what the NPR producer, anything in particular that he or she taught you or that you learned from your time with them?
Yeah, the whole show has been an evolution. I was tripping out today, James, because I was thinking about my first episode. I literally had a recorder in the middle of a room. I was just like, hey, let's just talk about things. And it must, I probably should go listen to them. They're pretty junky. And so I would say the NPR producer was amazing, because when you actually start looking for experts in whatever thing you're trying to improve, they've already figured out the blueprint and they can advance you. So yeah. I think one thing is you have to work hard no matter what, but you should just have to look for better and better blueprints.
Yeah.
And they'll, for whatever, I think, us working together is going to, produce dividends forever. His main things that he said, hey, do this. The number one thing, especially for content, but it's actually true for all aspects of business, is you got to cut out it. So if I'm chatting with someone for an hour, realistically, only about 30 minutes is interesting. And The NPR, and so they spend 10 hours to get like a 15-minute clip.
Interesting.
It's like, wow, they're spending the ratios are really high. So I think I'm cutting out a lot of it. They're very big on narratives. So what's the whole overall experience of a story? I think I'm going to figure out my own way of that, because I think ultimately as we're running our companies, a lot of times we know the answers and we know the authenticity. What is authenticity? It's just doing who you really are, doing what you really want to do, not anything more than that, and that's authentic.
Yep.
And so the NPR way though is like have a narrative with this crazy hook. So taking elements from them, and I think that's what's worked well for me with marketing. Almost every one of my great marketing like successes or tactics that work is because I saw someone else do it, and then I just figured out how to do that and then make it more. And so learn from this NPR guy, but also make it my own way. And so cut out stuff, have a little bit more of a hook in the beginning, and then the narrative part I'm figuring out if I want to have this crazy. Look what happened when a cow got diseases in Indiana.
One thing that I love that you do on your show, Noah, you're always asking for feedback. And, I listened to one episode. I think it was the one you did with Craig McCown on his book Essentialism. And I think I hopped on Twitter and told you how much I loved it. And in doing that, I noticed that somebody else had given kind of a critique on the episode. They didn't think that Greg, brought a lot of value, which I totally disagreed with. Have you been getting a lot of engagement from a feedback standpoint because you're simply asking for it at the end of every episode?
It's funny you asked that today, because podcast is a hard medium as a business or as a marketer or as a content creator, because for the most part you put something out there and people respond.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's funny we say that, but yeah, so you put a podcast episode out there and you maybe get one response.
Yep.
And it's just like, I think it's very hard to stay working on something when you don't get some kind of feedback.
Yep.
And so, that's where success comes though. You got to get the feedback obviously, but you got to keep working when it's not always just feeling great. And so in today's episode, actually the one about the NPR guy, I just made it very explicit. I said, hey, just email me or tweet me about this. I'd really love for you to tell me. And when I put my email in, now I'm actually getting responses. So I think this actually happened with me with my blog, where if you have any site, you need to figure out a way that you can measure like how people are happy or not about what you're doing and engage them, because it's generally the loudest complainers, like that 1% you got to ignore. It's the ones who are like kind of want to talk to you, but they don't make that real effort. And so you have to look at like, all right, how do I measure what if they like it or not? And so with my emails, I'm like, well, let me just look at my open rates, because I was looking at my comments. I was like, man, I get like 2 comments. But I just emailed 100,000 people. This must be the article. And it's like, no, people just skimmed it and they thought it was pretty good, and then they went to the toilet or whatever else they were doing. So I think the biggest thing is that as people are looking for KPIs in marketing, make sure you can have an accurate one of the quality that can help you. So with podcasts, it was hard to get feedback. So I have to be more explicit to say, give me this feedback so that I can measure the quality of the product.
I love it. So, Noah, I was watching a YouTube video with Mark Fidelman from Fanatics Media. We've had him on this show before, and I saw that he had interviewed you, and you shared something with him that I think will be really interesting for this audience, for our audience as well. You talked about kind of how you were able to get quality email subscribers from Facebook for right out $1, I think. Could you walk us through kind of your process for doing that and how you're able to make that happen?
Yeah, I'll give it very simply for anyone. And I generally like just tactics, so I'm not going to give a lot of fluff, but I'll just give it very high level. And then if there's, people can email me, noah@sumo.com, or check out, I think on okdork.com or YouTube, I have a video. The highest level thing is that as I was doing, and there's probably other ways of getting dollar email signups, and it's not email signups, it's a human. It's like a person that might buy your product. So I was like humanizing the people. Yep. It's not just a email baby girl at Hotmail. And so the simplest thing is that as I was doing marketing on my own OKDork site, I was collecting emails very aggressively all over the place, everywhere. And then I was actually looking at what they were doing. I was saying, are they opening it? Are they clicking anything? Are they doing anything? And all of them were either unsubscribing or not opening and clicking anything. And so, and I'm looking at it from mostly around open rates, but also clicks. So I individually researched like the last 100 people who signed up. And I was like, man, these are not people doing anything. So I took their emails, searched them, and I was like, man, no, these are not people I want. So what I did though is I was like, you got to ask for emails less aggressively and think of it like a restaurant. And so that's kind of been my restaurant strategy for Facebook, where I let people come to the restaurant, I enjoy my meal. So I tell them, hey, come, here's my menu, which is what I'm saying. Hey, try this dish, which is an article, read it, enjoy it. And then you could sign up, but it's a lot less aggressive. Or I'm going to retarget you, which is like, hey, come back again. Or at the end of the meal, you could say, here's your bill. And that's the kind of the way I look at it. Come enjoy the meal, have a great time, and the bill. So you just pay a little bill at the end. So for me, I advertise you get cheap clicks advertising to your content because I'm not asking for anything. I'm not making them do anything. There's no nothing. And then with retargeting for those people, I say, hey, here's some, either you can give a cheesy PDF or you can just say, hey, sign up for my newsletter. You already like my stuff. And I found that strategy so far working really well. Targeting either, you could do lookalike audiences or just, very narrow targeting. I personally like more narrow the better. Like everyone's like, go bigger. I'd rather start small and then expand. And I find that easier.
So it's promoting an article first, getting people to consume your content. Have you done anything with promoting videos first and maybe like your YouTube videos, like doing those natively through Facebook and doing kind of like, okay, if anybody that watched more than 10 seconds of this video, or have you just done it with articles?
So the YouTube. So to be clear, the reason I have a YouTube channel is because I don't want Facebook to own everything.
Okay.
And it's not searchable, right? Okay. There's still billions of people a month searching YouTube and Facebook for YouTube and Google for knowledge. So I think there's other channels. So I do upload a majority of my videos to Facebook, but Facebook ads to YouTube have been expensive. It's been about 75 cents a click.
Got it.
For me, I'm sure someone can figure out a way to get something better than that, but I haven't found that to be a channel I really want to try to spend a bunch of money on.
Got it.
I'm sure there's probably, I think if you try to do Facebook ads to Facebook videos that stay on Facebook are great. And then maybe have your YouTube link in the comments or something like that. The thing I'm kind of actually really excited about now is Facebook bots, which I think are stupid. And every time someone said bot, I was zoning out. I'm like, oh, here's another weirdo again. It's like when they talk about Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, all these rich ass Bitcoin weirdos. But the Facebook bot, the reason it's actually really interesting is because Facebook's basically trying to own your entire communication with your customers, which is good and bad. It's good because they have your customers already. It's bad because then you're going to have to pay them to talk to your customers. But what's interesting about it is instead of saying, hey, Facebook, here's an ad or some stuff to go to my landing page to give me your email, just let me email them through Facebook. So that's what the bot can do, where you can say, let me show ads to join my bot, basically. And through your bot, you can actually message all of your customers either automatically with different, auto text or just broadcast messages. And the open rates and click rates on that, a friend was showing me today, are like 80% open rate, 20% click rate.
Wow.
So I don't know if Facebook, I can see Facebook putting the clamp down on that. We're like, oh, you want to talk to these people? Now you're screwed. But I think at least early on, there's some opportunity there.
Yeah, I've been seeing the digital marketer folks on their, I think their podcast is like Perpetual Traffic or something like that, and they've been talking a lot about the messenger bots and different ways that you can use them. So I want to close with this, Noah, and this is probably the a selfish question from me as a founder of a business, and kind of I've been looking up to you really since the beginning.
Oh.
Of me, starting my first business and kind of from entrepreneur stage all the way to, to now actually having a business that's making money and supporting my family.
Good for you, man. Congratulations.
And so, my question for you, your biggest challenge going from, 6-figure business to 7-figure business. And then there's obviously a whole another, slew of challenges going from 7-figure to 8-figure business. But, in the stage that we're at right now, I'd really love to hear kind of like what were the challenges or the things that helped enable you to go from, to 6-figure to 7-figure business.
So when we went from I'm trying to think of our first, actually, I think our first or second year we did like 200,000. I was pretty surprised in revenue.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that good. And I think our second year we did 700. Our third year we did mil plus, and then fourth and fifth have gone pretty well.
Got it.
The difference in the years, because I think there's 6 to 7. I think 6 to 7 for us, it's really figuring out what was working. Like, what is our main drivers that we can really multiply? So for you, it's probably what I'm assuming. There's generally kind of two functions, like either bring them in or close them. And I'm assuming for you, it's probably expanding the upfront, like the amount of people you can bring in. Like, what are the options for you to 10x? So for us, we were doing bundles, and then we were like, well, hey, if we make these individual deals, we can do more of them, and we tested it, and then we got more profit, and we're like, and it worked better. So what can you do 10x more of? So going from bundles to individual deals, 10x it. So for other people's businesses, because no one cares about mine, which we're all selfish, it's great, is like, can you 10x the amount of content? Can you 10x your sales team? Can you 10x your developer team? Can you 10x the amount of podcasts you're doing? Can you 10x YouTube videos? Can you 10x? What can you 10x? And so that'll get you to the 7-figure pretty well. And then from 7, it's more operationally.
Okay.
Like how do you systematize your business so that now that it's working, you can really scale that out? Now that you know that ads work, you're like, all right, now I'm going to go and hire a full-time team around that. But yeah, from 6 to 7, it was just like what pieces are already working pretty well or really well, and then how do I accelerate it? Because what I did, and I think a lot of marketers do, unfortunately, is that let's say we have 10 things. We're doing 10 different activities. 5 are working, 5 aren't. We just keep doing all of them. And I think more people need to be aggressive and say, well, I'm going to kill the 5 that aren't working of these 5, which are really, really working. And we all know the 80-20 principle, but we still think about ex-girlfriends. I mean, would probably be the easiest joke about it. And it's not that I don't even think about my ex that often, but it's really like throw that stuff away, clear out your closet, move on to the next thing, and focus on what's positive. You can't focus on the past. You can't let yourself get held back. And so with marketing, it's like, is Instagram not working? Don't waste any time. So I was talking with our team today. It's like, you're not wasting I don't want to hear about Instagram. I don't care. Because even if you're spending a little bit of money, like $200 a month or a few hours a week, it's only 3 hours. Well, is there something the 3 hours could have been spent better on?
Exactly.
There's probably a little bit of function of people, but at the part you're already at 6, like people, unless it's sales, probably won't make as much of a difference. But it's like, yeah, there's things already working. Like what things are really working the best that I can focus on, and what things can I really kill? So with AppSumo, funny enough, we were running 3 kind of other companies as we started because we were hedging, and they were all around helping businesses. And eventually we're like, no, just do the one that's working. And of the working, what kind of deals are now doing the best? Let's do even more of those. And it's it's been the same with Sumo. Like we made some money, and then we're like, well, where the money's coming from? Everything's coming from our email tool stuff. So let's just focus on making the best email tool system in that. And that's what got it to 7. And I think for 8, there's also what's been interesting as I got older is just also like, where's the vision of your business, which I thought was cheesy before, and starting to process. It's stuff that I thought was kind of silly, but it's really important. It's like, where the hell are you trying to go?
Yeah.
And then I think for a lot of people, I thought this is interesting with marketing, the best thing to do is start narrow, which no one does because we don't want to give up things.
Yeah.
But I do think as people get some size, like let's say 7 or 8 figures, it's how big is that actual market to be? So let's say I try to be famous on YouTube. Like if I'm talking about like email marketing, there's only so many video views on email marketing, no matter what.
Yeah.
So then, and you have to think, well, I want to be bigger. I want to reach a large. Okay, so probably have to talk about content marketing, and then you become marketing. And do you add that? And I think that's the thing with businesses. Like, is there another kind of customer base or way to expand that's complementary to what you're already doing? I mean, what do you think for yourself though? I'm actually curious. Like, what do you think will take you from to that next level?
So for us, we came out of the gate very, very focused on what we're, we just do podcasts. And so actually when I started the business, we were writing blog posts for really anybody. It didn't matter if you were B2B, B2C, whatever. And so started the business there about 10 months in, and I realized I was trying to get into a very specific niche. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll start a podcast around this niche, and then I'll use the podcast as a way to create relationships with decision makers in the niche. And that niche ended up not having, money for our service. And so, but I took that experience and I thought, man, if using a podcast to create genuine relationships worked here, it will probably work for a lot of other B2B businesses. And so from there, I decided to pivot the business and go all in on podcasting. And so since then, we've exclusively been producing podcasts for B2B companies. And in that, I think there's, so we came up with kind of, okay, this is our package. This is what we do. We were really focused on that. And recently we just closed the biggest deal that we've ever closed because we offered, some sort of like marketing thing on the back end of that production. So instead of just producing the show, we're helping them, get interviewed on other podcasts to promote the show. And we're helping them, become a contributor for larger publications so that they can promote the show that way. And so I'm thinking that really developing out that other offer. And so, I don't know. So your thoughts, what would be your thoughts on that? Like, are we going down the right path of saying, okay, we had this very specific offer. Now we're expanding that offer by doing more things. But to your point earlier, you said you focus, like really hone in and focus on, that one thing or whatever. But I've seen that like we can close a deal for $9K, produce somebody's show, launch somebody's show, or we can launch their show and do kind of some marketing services on top of launching their show. And instead of closing a $9,000 deal, we can close a $25,000 deal. So that's the path that I'm seeing for growth. But is there something different that is you see as an opportunity?
So you're not going to like my answer. The problem here's what I've realized about feedback: no one really wants it, and most people are going to do what they want to do anyway.
Okay,
that's the reality of all this. Is that a lot of people already have their. It's like you're driving. It's like, let's say, James, you and your family you're going to Disneyland.
Yep.
If I try to stop you in the middle of your drive and said, "Hey, James, why don't you come over to Billy Bob Joe Noah's barbecue house and we're gonna why don't you stay here for the week and we'll have you're like, dude, I'm already going to Disneyland. It's gonna be awesome. Like my wife's here, the kids are in the back.
Yep.
I'm not going here. And that's how life is. So, but if I were you, the two things I would consider is, and this is the number one thing for almost everyone out there, is that there's probably more customers in the area that you're already winning than you think.
Okay.
Most people are at the next level, and this is myself. I'm telling you from experience. We go to that. Oh, I'll go to this one because it's easy. But then you actually become nothing because you then service them, and then someone moves you to the right, and someone keeps moving to the right. So my point for you, the number one thing is that there's 10 times more people. I would bet a lot of money in the space you're already in versus moving to that next level already.
Okay.
The second thing I would say is that it's much easier to get known for something than not get known for anything.
Yep.
And I think we've even made that mistake with our businesses. And so you have to come back to say AppSumo, super high quality daily deals. Sumo.com, the best tools online to grow your email list. That's it. You want to get like a ice cream pop, you want to get heat maps, probably going to have to use someone else because that's not what we're going to specialize in. But if you want, and then so I'm saying for you, what are you known for? And if now you do everything, it's like that eventually a bundle actually could be very valuable. But I think you already had, most people have stuff working. There's a lot more what's already working with what they have before they move to the next thing. And I'm telling you just because I make that mistake a lot.
Got it. No, I appreciate that, man. So Noah, if somebody's listening to this and they want to stay connected with you, they want to learn more about Sumo, AppSumo, what's the best way for them to find you and to stay connected with everything you've got going on?
Yeah, if they're in podcast land, go to Noah Kagan Presents Podcast. Check me out. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud. I don't know, Walkmans. No. If you are looking to grow your email list, go to sumo.com. It's free to use. And no, there's no gimmicks. It's free to use. And then if you want to have more tools to grow your business, we have appsumo.com, which is our daily deals website. And if people want to check out my marketing stuff as well, okdork.com.
Love it. Awesome, Noah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, man. I really appreciate it.
Dude, this is awesome.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you or someone you know would be an incredible guest for the B2B Growth Show, email me at jonathan@sweetfishmedia.com. Let us know. We love connecting with B2B executives, and we love sharing their wisdom and perspective with our audience.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.